University is a scary and also exciting prospect for many young adults. It is certainly a huge change from school, from the day-to-day independence that you are given, to the assignments and work that you are expected to do. Once you get onto your physiotherapy degree, though, how can you best spend your time preparing for the degree so that you get a head start? Hi everyone, my name is Peter. I'm a physiotherapy student within the UK. So, you're in a situation where you watched my video on how to do better on an interview. It's linked down below. And then you smash your interview. And now you've got a few months to prepare for your degree and you wonder how can you best spend your time? Well, luckily for you, I have contacted the course leaders and staff from different physiotherapy courses about the different things you can do to prepare for your degree, and I'll also be talking about what I'm personally doing to prepare for my degree. So, without further ado, let's go. One of the most fundamental things for you to look at is anatomy and physiology. Now, from my experience, this is one of the things that will differ between physiotherapy and sport and exercise science. Physiotherapy, because it's more related to medicine, it will have a much bigger emphasis on knowing anatomy and physiology. With physiotherapy in particular, unlike other medical degrees where a breadth of knowledge over all anatomy and physiology is expected, when you're starting a degree in physiotherapy, it seems to be the knowledge is skewed towards certain systems in the body. So, from my experience, it seems to be focused more on the nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, the cardiovascular system, and the respiratory system. I'm not sure whether that relates more to the kind of things a physiotherapist can treat, but that's just my experience from what is expected and the titles and the content of the modules from different physiotherapy degrees. Make sure you have a good grasp of these systems. So the musculoskeletal system, the different muscles, bones, bony landmarks, muscle origins and insertions, stuff like that. If you have extra time, I would look more into cellular biology and cellular physiology because your cells make up the tissues and organs within your body, so knowing that is really useful. Also, just having more knowledge and breadth about the different systems because they all interact with each other in one way or another, so knowing more about the digestive system, for example. In general, one of the best ways you can spend your time is learning about anatomy and physiology before you start your physiotherapy degree. The next thing, and this relates to anatomy and physiology, but I feel like it deserves its own point, is pathology. And essentially pathology is the study of certain diseases and conditions and how they manifest and affect the body. As a physiotherapist, you're not just studying the body, you're also learning how to treat different conditions and improve the quality of life of your patients. And to do that effectively, you need to know what conditions you will likely be treating in your specialty or just in general on placement. You need to know the certain structures and systems, because if you don't know those, you won't know how the condition actually affects the patient. But then how the condition or whatever the issue is affects these systems and structures down the line. And if you know that, you will have a greater understanding of how the certain interventions will help the patient. So, for example, if you're talking about COPD or cystic fibrosis or something that is related to a respiratory condition, then, for example, a lot of mucus buildup, if you don't understand about active cycle breathing and different techniques that physiotherapists can use, and you don't understand about goblet cells and cilia and how they move mucus around the pharynx and larynx and all this kind of stuff, then it's going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be harder, but that's just one example, but just the understanding of what the condition does to the body and how you can treat it is really important. As an extra point, I know more about this from a musculoskeletal point of view because that's more what I'm interested in. But I think knowing what surgeries a patient is going to go under before you try and rehabilitate them is really important. Because if you're going to fix someone or improve their quality of life and reduce their pain, knowing what happened in the surgery, if you're going to be treating them after, is really important. But to be honest, this is an extremely niche and extra point. This is like the cherry on top if you have extra time. Focus on anatomy and physiology and just general pathology before this. The next point I want to focus on is the structure and function of the NHS and just social care in general. This This includes documents like the People's Plan, the Long-Term Plan, and also the Integration and Innovation White Paper. Knowing this stuff, even if you're not going in the clinical sector, I think is really important, just to know the direction and orientation that the NHS and the medical industry in general is progressing and going towards. These documents, while they emphasize and focus on different things, they kind of all have similarities. Usually they will focus on what direction the NHS needs to go in, how you can improve the situation for patients and how you can improve the care for them, how we can improve quality of life for also the practitioners as well working within the NHS, where funding needs to go, where you can innovate, such as technology, for example. They usually cover similar things, but will have more emphasis on certain topics and will be working in different time frames. So for example, the long-term plan might have more of an emphasis on being long-term than the People's Plan. As I said, focusing on these documents and getting more comfortable with them definitely isn't a bad thing. And also within the same theme, reading the NHS Constitution is so important if you want to work within the NHS or even just help people and patients in general. The next thing I want to focus on is knowing how to get better at assignments. I would argue that knowing how to be a good physiotherapist and improving your understanding is better than just getting good grades in general. A counter argument to this could be, if you are a good physio, then you're going to get good grades anyway. But my understanding to that is that with some assignments, there are times when you get extra marks based on the specific requirements and preferences of a specific staff. So for example, they might like a certain layout or how you construct a certain paragraph, narrative or story within your essay, but actually it might not really improve yourself as a physiotherapist that much. I definitely experienced that on my sport and exercise science degree, but I have yet to experience that on my physiotherapy degree. In short, what I'm trying to say also is that even though an essay might focus on atherosclerosis, for example, knowing about a breadth of knowledge in relation to the cardiovascular system is arguably just as important. So that's what I'm trying to get to when I say that understanding is just as important, if not more important, than just getting grades at university. A lot of the physiotherapists that I've spoken to or heard about online express that throughout their recruitment process into getting a job within the NHS, there weren't really many situations where they were asked what their grades were. It was more how they performed on the interview and how good they seem as a practitioner. And realistically, I might bite my words, but I don't think a individual hiring you within the NHS, an employer, will care if you've got a 2-1 or a first or a merit or a distinction. What really matters is your need and drive and want to help people and how effective you are at doing your job as a physiotherapist. However, I've kind of went off in a bit of a tangent here, but there are definitely techniques such as knowing different revision techniques for exams and knowing how to best read and collect notes and interpret them for forming an argument for essays. There is definitely a lot more to this, and I will focus on this in more detail in future videos, but there are definitely generic tips that you can do to improve your success on assignments as a whole, regardless of the topic that the assignment is focused on. Ultimately, there are definitely tips that you can follow to be more prepared from day one at university. Unless you're one of those heathens that starts an assignment the night before and still manage to get a first or a really good grade, then these tips should be something that you might want to focus on and might help you personally, or at least I found helped me. But again, I will cover them more in future videos, so stay tuned for that. The last overall section I want to cover in this video is just in relation to, let's just call it science, but more particularly the scientific method. When I started my bachelor's degree in sport and exercise science, I did not focus on statistical analysis and method design, and that really hampered my ability to effectively critique a study and get the most out of that study and squeeze the most information out of it. And really, your ability to critique scientific literature is really important with getting those higher marks on essays if you're doing a science-related degree. I think one of the best ways to do this is don't just type in statistical analysis online, read studies and focus on the bits that crop up the most within the methods and the results section. And then when you see these words or ways of testing or analyzing data crops up a lot, then bit by bit improve your knowledge and understanding on what these are and what they're in relation to. For example, if you see lots of different words that look like correlation coefficient, standard deviation, statistical significance, don't be an ostrich and poke your head in the sand. Read up on these terms and improve your knowledge on them and why they're being mentioned in the study that you're reading. Knowing more about method design and statistical analysis in general will improve your ability to be able to read and interpret a study in general. Because if you don't understand the findings of a study, that is an issue and it will really hamper your grades. Also, if you just chip away at this over time and improve your knowledge on the scientific method, then what it will mean is hopefully by the end of your degree, if you do a dissertation or some kind of related project, then you will be so much happier because you will be a lot more well informed with conducting your own study. And also, it might lead into other opportunities with research in the future if your dissertation is good enough, if research is something that you do want to go into. As an overall tip, I just want to say that in the months in preparation for your degree, these tips might help you, but please don't burn yourself out. A degree is a marathon, not a sprint. It's over a few years, it's not a few months. Yes, there might be times when you have to stay up late to do an assignment, but it's about longevity and enjoying what you do and not just achieving a single goal. Or at least that's what I believe anyway. Enjoy your summer, I'm sure you deserve it. To wrap things up, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it makes you feel less stressed about the steps moving forward in preparing for your university degree. If you like this video, then you might also like the video that I did talking about how you can reduce the chances that you will feel homesick at university, that I will link somewhere in this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you there. Adios amigos.